Hi, it's Pace Robinson, and if I haven't met you yet, I'm the president and CEO of this terrific institution, and we're getting ready to celebrate 100 years. So we've got a big birthday happening in 2025, and we're all excited to have you be a part of that. I wanted to just give you a little bit of background on how the organization got started. We were born in 1925 by a group of women led by a woman named Mrs. Stewart Carey. Really interesting because if you think about it, women didn't have a lot of ability to have ownership and do things on their own, but she had an idea. So in Indianapolis, there was a movement to move away from sitting in a classroom and really figuring out how children think and learn. And of course, that's by using all their senses. The idea being that instead of having objects in a case, she said, why don't we take them outside of the case and let kids touch them? Of course, we know children learn through all of their senses. And the first object was a taxidermied pufferfish. So, of course, very spiky and pokey, but we've got this amazing photo of two young boys in 1925 who are holding that pufferfish and are kind of in awe. And that's how it all got started. It was really neat because the same group of women also started the Orchard School. So this is a time where you've got kids going out into nature, you're differentiating learning by preferences, you're asking questions. And so all of that was infused into the learning theory of the early museum. We went from a bunch of different places. We landed where we are in the building now in 1976. And that was another visionary woman who brought us to that stage. And her name was Mrs. Compton. And her idea was, we need more space, but let's make it accessible. And this is a time before we really thought about inclusion and accessibility. So the innovative part is our big ramp that goes through the center of the museum. If you think about other museums of the time, you've got those old natural history museums that have big staircases, and she insisted on a ramp because she knew that people would have strollers, but also people might be in wheelchairs, and it would be easier for elderly people to walk around. And so that's how the museum that we're in now was born in 1976. She also envisioned these giant galleries. They're 10,000 square feet with these super high ceilings. For many years, I was an exhibit developer and a project manager, and I never said, gosh, I wish these ceilings were bigger. I never said, oh my gosh, I can't fit this Batmobile through the opening. And so I think a lot about her forethought so that she didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but she knew it was going to be something amazing. We've really also built on that idea of touching objects. So, of course, we have what started with one pufferfish. We've got over 130,000 objects. Typically, we don't want you to touch the objects, but we do have an education collection, so we are able to get things out that kids can touch. We have spaces like the Paleo Lab where you can touch a T-Rex bone. But we've also developed this notion of hands-on learning and interactivity that you'll see in both our interpretive programs and through the interactives in our exhibits. About the time that we were building Dinosphere, that was about 2002, we started thinking, how could we purposely build for family interaction? And in the past, I had used a lot of different learning theories to try to put together something that made sense for our organization. But then we really learned from some outside experts, and we built this notion of family learning, which is a framework that guides all of our program and exhibit development. It allows us to think about the audiences that we're going to be serving. And it really has evolved to crazy, amazing objects that you can actually see better through technology. It's those hands-on activities where you get to take part in maybe a scientific process, or you get to put a costume on. So again, this started with touching a pufferfish, and you can see where we are today with how technical and how great we are at delivering family learning. So where we are today, I often think about if Mrs. Compton or Mrs. Stewart Carey came back and saw what we were doing, they wouldn't say, oh, this is innovative. They would say, this is magic. And so our challenge is, how are we going to build for the next 100 years so that when I come back as a ghost, I can say, this is not only innovative, this is more than I could have ever imagined. And so what we're doing is we're embarking on this very comprehensive campaign to raise additional endowment dollars so that we have more space to dream. technologies that will not even be in our minds right now are going to be employed in 100 years. We want to have the building still be here, so we have to invest in infrastructure. We also have to make sure that beloved experiences like our carousel, the trains exhibit, that those all have the resources so that we can keep operating them for the next century. And then finally, we need to invest in our staff. So embarking on this campaign is a little scary, but it's important to make sure that we can help envision what that next 100 years should be. And I'm so excited that we're all here together at this crazy moment in time, because you only get to celebrate 100 one time.